one thing someone told me, and it was after the fact that it was normal to happen, and I had been experiencing it, was he called it like little fingers everywhere. And it was the fact that these kids have not had VCRs, and they haven't had bats and balls, and they haven't had tons of switches in the house. And my kids were older, so they had the dexterity and the reach of older kids, but the curiosity of a 2-year-old. And things were getting destroyed, like right and left. I walked upstairs one day in the middle of the summer, and my fuse box had been turned off, but the heater had been turned on, and it was blowing 94 degrees air into an already 110 degree like upstairs level, and the TV wouldn't work. I couldn't figure out what was the fuse box.
Everything.
And I had a friend say that their outdoor freezer that they kept in their garage had been unplugged unbeknownst to them by their newly adopted kids. Just, gee, what's this?
What is it?
And they didn't know until $600 worth of meat was rancid. Sure. We had holes in walls and Sharpies on guitars, and just food going into the piano keys and stuff that used to would happen with a 2-year-old. I really didn't expect
with an older kid,
this new level of chaos. I didn't expect to have to throw away, get rid of like every nice thing in my house, and I should have cleared the palette.
You're right. There aren't decorative floral arrangements in orphanages, right? That doesn't have a corollary in their world. So good point.
Well, and another point, my sister adopted a handicapped child, and I know a lot of children have handicaps who are coming home from orphanages, partly from the experience, partly sadly, some kids are dropped off because they seem like they're going to have problems. And so I don't know how exactly you prepare for it, other than just to accept it over and over that things are going to be different. And what we take is just lovely decor, and that you could gradually teach an infant growing up. If you have an older child or one who is handicapped, whether it's physical and mental or emotionally, tantrums and things, you are going to have things broken and ruined, and you've just got to suck that in and accept it, and maybe take down and store away for a long time. In fact, I remember my aunt saying they just boxed up so much stuff in their home before they adopted their child and put it away for years, and then gradually introduce things. So, that was her easier way of dealing with that. And she said it's actually freeing to get rid of so many things that we think, decorative things we need or stuff. But other things, you want to have a TV, and just having it broken and pushed off is kind of frustrating. But I think that is a good thing to know and be aware of, and just say that's going to be okay.
I mean, my daughter didn't know how to sit still. I mean, it makes sense. They didn't have to sit at a table. Right. And she was 9 years old, and she would fall off her chair at dinner like a 2-year-old, at least 2 or 3 times a week. And it's a crash bang. It's very, rocking on your chair, and bam, she's gone. And you're like, what in the world? It was just a new level of chaos and potential for stitches all over again. But they're learning. They need the same amount of time. There's a faster learning curve, but they have to learn everything that a young toddler has to learn. They've never been told.
Agreed.
They've never been told any of this stuff either.
I think it helps to remember too that that's not the way it's going to be forever. Those first few days you think, oh my word, this is never going to change. But a few weeks later, a few months later, a few years later, you're like, okay, we got through that. We got there. We're okay. Right. For my little boy, it was, and he was 2 when he came home, so he's still just little. But he would walk through the house and he would just look up at things like the entertainment center and the refrigerator and all those things. And I would think, oh, he's just never seen that before. Well, it turns out he just wanted to see how high it was and if he could climb it and jump off of it, and would it hurt him. So those were, I think you have to change your mindset to figure out your child and what's going through your head here. And are you going to try to jump off the refrigerator? It's a new normal, but it does get better. You adjust, you change, and
My 14-year-old didn't do that. I think there might be an age where they kind of appreciate their social norms that exist. But I think there is a window where it really is. I mean, I felt like when I first put my kid on a trampoline, which some parents would never do to any kid, but I'm pretty risk adverse, and we had to border the trampoline with people because we felt like she didn't know that she could just like step off and hurt herself, and she eventually got it. But yeah, they're learning everything. They're starting from the beginning.
And some things aren't complete destruction. With my Mia, she's really actually quite an angel. She was, I hate to admit how easy she was and how she just adapted into our home life. But I would put her down for a nap or, to bed, and she may not be tired or anything, but she would just sit there. And and so it was kind of easy to want to go on about your life, like, oh, she's probably having a nice nap, and realize she's not destroying things, but she doesn't know what to do or where to go. And so she's just kind of sitting there waiting. I'm like, oh, you poor thing. And so I had to kind of watch her extra to help usher her into new experiences.
Orphanage. Was she orphanage? Mm-hmm. That's orphanage behavior, because they know that once they got laid down, there was nobody coming back.
Right. So you just stay there, and
you stay there till someone gets you, because
our Sophia from China is the same way. At first we thought that she just, I assumed that she was still asleep because I wasn't hearing anything. And then when you go in and check, she's just waiting for you to come and get her because she was afraid. Mm-hmm. Her experience was that it was a bad thing to get out of bed without. So I actually remember the first morning that she did that by herself and thinking, yay, she's
and they learn, I mean, this is but they learn that nobody comes when they cry.
Yes, agreed.
So I think the first time your adopted child cries for you,
yes,
it's just like this great, and you come, it's like you're teaching them a new.
For me, and this was kind of funny to me, that the first time Colin fell down and he cried, and I, went running over to him and, you're going to be okay. And I, was just kind of showering him with that attention. And my family was there, my extended family, like, why are you coddling him? Like, no, you don't understand. This is such a big thing that he cried and he came to me, and, he's looking for comfort from me. So I think sometimes it's the pressure you feel is outside pressure from people saying who don't understand what it's like in an orphanage, when no one does come when you cry, to put forth that extra effort, and why that is essential and why it's important. And sometimes you just have to do your own thing. And
similar to that, with Sophia, if she falls and jumps up and silently runs down the hall, she's really hurt. She's running because she's expecting
not
still
to get in trouble for crying.
And for falling, right?
Falling.
So that's when you have to go after her, and because that's just what her learned behavior is. That's how she copes with actually really getting hurt. So you have to be aware of what their triggers are, what their patterns are, to pick that up.